I'd like to be remembered for being the first face on Channel 4. That's what I'm really most proud of.
Now, friends and colleagues, remember Mr. Countdown in a tribute to Richard Whiteley here on 4.
Let me just say, Richard would like people to remember him, however they remember him. He loved to be loved, and he revelled in television and being a part of it and being known in the nicest possible way. He felt he was one of the luckiest men on earth.
Whether fancied by ferrets...
Ow, ow, ow!
Probing prime ministers...
I'm sort of old enough almost to be your mother.
I wish you were.
Or just being where it mattered.
Hello from the cliff top in Scarborough.
Richard Whiteley was one of the most popular presenters in the history of British television. But there was one role more than any other that made him famous.
Well, hello countdowners everywhere.
He was the man in the middle.
Big up yourself, keep it real.
The host with the most.
Apparently that's real cool speak.
The mayor in the chair.
Anyway, I'm speaking on behalf of our champion.
For 23 years, Richard Whiteley presided over Britain's favourite parlour game, like a proud Yorkshire squire surveying his beloved land.
I'm thrilled and proud that today is the 3000th edition of Countdown.
Until his death at the age of 61, Richard had been at the helm of nearly 4,000 shows. That's 3 months end-to-end of wise words, sophisticated sums and countless conundrums. It was a marriage made in TV heaven. No wonder he became known as Mr. Countdown.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be able to say to you, welcome to Channel 4.
In November 1982, Channel 4 was born, and always one for being in the right place at the right time, Richard Whiteley was there to bring it kicking and screaming into the big wide world.
Richard was proud to be the first face on Channel 4. It meant an awful lot to him. And he loved that. They often quoted his line that he said on the first programme, as the countdown to a new channel ends,
a brand new countdown begins. This countdown is a quiz game that all of you can play at home, and if you're good with figures, or you figure you're good with letters, well, we think this could be the game for you, because it's all
well, the first time I met him, because he was a big star on television in the Yorkshire area, which was where I just moved to. So I was quite in awe of him.
Countdown, in fact, is about numbers as well as letters, and we figure we've got a pretty good figure ruling that part of the game. Meet our vital statistician, Carol Vorderman. She's a Cambridge graduate, and she works in computers.
But he was ever so nice. He was very friendly, and he really wanted us to do well.
Our total, 833.
How does she do it?
In the early years on Countdown, I suppose I was doing a job, and I was a young woman, and we became closer and closer and closer as the years went on.
The relationship between Richard and Carol is totally unique. I've never seen one like it anywhere. It's a real adoration. Richard worshipped Carol.
They were always delighted to see each other across the studio. And you can't fake that. You can't fake that real affection.
Well, I always felt that Richard was the best kind of flirt, you know.
Well,
Happy birthday!
He had all the flirtation, but there was no follow-through. So, you know, he was a really safe date.
People will talk.
For over 2 decades, Richard and Carol entertained the nation from the Countdown studios in Leeds. As well as the loyal fans at home, more than 250,000 people joined in the fun as members of the studio audience.
Everyone who came into the audience, they all loved Countdown, so we were all part and parcel of the same team in the studio. And more often than not, I'd beat him to the studio. And so I'd be chatting to the audience.
Please, God, don't let Richard tell any jokes today.
And then he'd come in. Oh, and they used to go mental for him. You know, they absolutely loved him.
Oh, hang on.
Welly?
Is that what I call welly? Well, you didn't do well enough.
He started already!
He had these great routines with the studio audience. Always try and involve them when he could, because he just made everyone feel that, you know, that he really was with them. And I think that's quite special. There are a lot of game shows where you don't get that rapport and you don't get that sense that someone's with you. And I think Richard did that beautifully.
We don't know many of the hymns. You have very sort of long hymns, I'm afraid.
And he wasn't just the audience's best friend.
Please welcome, alongside his striking partner, Susie Dent, the man of the match himself, Rick Wakeman.
Richard also had the knack of putting the guests in Dictionary Corner at ease.
I remember the first time I met Richard really, really well, because I'd been, through my agent, I'd been trying to get on the programme. Just like everybody else was trying to get on Countdown. Everybody wanted to get on Countdown.
It's a pleasure to welcome back Philip Franks, Tim Rice, Richard Stilgo, Henry Blofeld, with a song in her heart, and Leslie Garrett, CBE.
He would just make you feel it was a walk in the park. He'd just make you feel you were only going to have good fun and that you had nothing to worry about at all.
Thank you, Richard, for that underwhelming introduction. He seemed to be very enthusiastic about what everyone said. And sometimes one came up with really lame things, but he'd always get you out of a hole somewhere.
Welcome, Blowers.
My dear thing. It's very nice of you to have me back.
I felt I was at home, and this, I think, was his genius of making people feel at ease.
Thanks, Richard. I was going to be so nice about your jacket as well. Oh.
He loved people who would spar with him a bit.
I've just found out that Richard Stilgo is an anagram of I dig Claire Short.
It was very easy, and he never missed anything. If you picked up on something, he would then keep it going all the way through the programme.
Today's guest in Dictionary Dell, actually, she's got Polish forebears. So...
Richard loved all the visitors to Dictionary Dell, but he had special reason to remember one particular guest, his partner, actress and presenter Catherine Apanovich.
What does a duck do?
A duck... Well, I went to a duck do once.
And what happened?
No, you meant to say, what's a duck do?
What does a duck do?
Quack, quack, quack.
Richard never forgot his celebrity friends in the corner. It's just a shame he had such a struggle with the contestants.
Well done, Chris, and bad luck to you. Thank you. Stephen, don't go home empty-handed, nice goodie bag full of stuff. So thanks very much indeed, and farewell to Stephen Gatenby. Stephen Draper.
Richard, I could never remember people's names. Ever. Contestants, oh, forget it, you know.
377, Alec? Oh.
But people over the years got used to it. You sort of, I think a lot of contestants sort of came on hoping that you'd get their name right.
And it wasn't just the contestants.
I was going to call you...
Carol Vorderman.
She said it. Carol Vorderman.
He was never quite on top of things, and it didn't matter at all. It was one of the things that gave the programme its appeal.
OK, Stanley, back to the board as you go. There'll be dancing in the streets of Melrose. No, not Melrose. Where do you live?
Sutton Coldfield.
Yes, Sutton Coldfield. Well,
as the host of Countdown, Richard Whiteley was the man with the plan.
Well, a lot of you won't have a clue what I'm talking about. No.
The mayor in the chair.
313.
We have 9 away. Oh, sorry, 3-1. I'll do that again.
The consummate professional.
That's so they can't use it, you see.
Well, that's what he would have liked us to have thought, anyway.
Of this series, we shall be back again in January of 1966, so may we...
96, Richard.
Bumbling he might have been, but no one could argue with the fact that Countdown's genial host was one of TV's most colourful personalities. And that was just his wardrobe.
I loved Richard's jackets, and I think it was only in the last few years that he really believed that I did love them, because every time I said I liked them, he thought I was taking the mickey, which I genuinely wasn't. Well, they were so much part of him, weren't they? And they're not nearly as garish as some people said.
Some of his jackets were a little loud. I think Richard delighted in wearing them.
Richard was like a marigold in a herbaceous border. He stood out.
He loved the ties. How many ties did he have? 500 and odd. He loved the ties. And those very square jackets, which he got from one shop, I think, in Lincoln, I think he told me.